Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com, here to talk about on the week of the fight, in my third video on this fight, the upcoming fight between favorite Manny Pacquiao, and he's a big favorite, right? He's at least a 6-1 favorite, minus 600 and higher. Manny Pacquiao and his opponent, Sugar Shane Mosley. Now, before I go further, just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. The opinion you should follow should be your own. My view is very different than the public. This is a minority video, and to those of you who watch these week of the fight videos, and I notice these videos get many more newer subscribers than any other set, let me just say I expect this fight to be very exciting, very close. I think the model for this fight is perhaps the best fight of the 1980s, and that's the bigger Thomas Hearns. I understand he gained weight for the fight, but it's the bigger Thomas Hearns. And keep in mind, Hearns later in his career would become a light heavyweight, fighting Southpaw Boxing Hall of Famer Marvelous Marvin Hagler in the 1980s. And let me go further and say that just based on personalities, I think the early part of this fight is going to be an absolute shootout. Shane Mosley has to make the early part of this fight an absolute shootout to have an opportunity to win the fight. And I think he will make it a shootout. And quite frankly, the bet I'm recommending is that you take Shane Mosley to win this fight. You should get plus 400 and higher odds. I believe Shane Mosley is a very live underdog, as I've discussed in the earlier videos. Just, search on YouTube for Pacquiao Mosley gamblersadvisory.com. You'll see my reasons why. But I'm expecting Shane Mosley to have an excellent chance at winning this fight by knockout early. But you should straddle it against the over in the fight, which would give you Pacquiao by decision. And you should also, I think, just to be on the safer side, buy Pacquiao to win in the 10th and 11th rounds. Right? Let me just say, since I made my last video, there was a fight. It was Ishida against Southpaw James Kirkland. And you saw in that fight Kirkland get knocked down. Kirkland's a southpaw like Pacquiao. Kirkland, aggressive southpaw like Pacquiao, gets knocked down first by a left. The second and third knockdowns, which Kirkland described as flash knockdowns, were straight right hands from Ishida. Right? And it wasn't that those straight right hands hurt Kirkland that much. It was just the positions of the fighters and Kirkland's over-aggression. Kirkland in a southpaw stance being hyper-aggressive against an orthodox fighter who could drop a straight right hand. And all I'm saying is take a look at Ishida's knockout percentage. You're going to see it's very low compared to Shane Mosley. I'm expecting the same kind of occurrence for Pacquiao Mosley. Let me point out that Thomas Hearns, let's get back to Hearns Hagler. Understand, and I know Hearns lost the fight in the third round. I understand that. But understand that Thomas Hearns, the hitman, right? A guy who had knocked out Pimpino Cuevas, a guy who knocked out Roberto Duran early, right? Thomas Hearns had one of the best right hands in the game in the 1980s. He was the hitman. He completely delivered. And his goal against Marvin Hagler was just to land that knockout punch, right? He had the whole thing set up where he was going to engage Marvin Hagler. And keep in mind, Tommy had a great jab. Doesn't use it much in that first round because his objective was to hit Hagler with his money punch, and he saw he could do it, right? And of course, If you go back and if you look at the tape of that first round, and you're going to see it here on YouTube. In fact, if you look at the tape of the first and second rounds, you're going to see that Thomas Hearns was able to do just that. His problem, what cost him the fight, was that he was up against one of the best chins in boxing history, right? Marvin Hagler had a Hall of Fame chin. You could hit him with the kitchen sink, he wasn't going anywhere, right? Even when he gets dropped in a fight against Juan Rodin, he got back up in about 2 seconds, right? Marvin Hagler could take a punch when Tommy hits him with the right hand. And keep in mind, Hearns landed that right hand so flush he actually hurt it in the first round. When he hits him with the right hand, Marvin took a step back, then came forward again, and Tommy understood he was fighting a machine. Manny Pacquiao, as great as he is, doesn't have Marvin Hagler's chin. We know that already because Pacquiao has been knocked out already twice, right? Go back and look at Pacquiao's record. You're going to see Pacquiao was knocked out twice at lighter weights. Let me also point out that Shane Mosley fought several fights at 154. He hits very hard for a welter, which is 147, where they're going to be fighting, right? Not only that, Manny Pacquiao has shown a susceptibility, like James Kirkland, to being hit with a straight right hand. I think what Shane Mosley's challenge is in this fight is he has to turn it into Hagler Hearns. He cannot fight the fight that he fought against Miguel Cotto or Floyd Mayweather. He cannot outbox Manny Pacquiao. What he has to do is impose himself on Manny Pacquiao, and he has to literally fire that straight right hand. Let me also make another point. For British bettors who have the option during the fight to bet as the fight is going on, right? I will be wrong. I will be wrong if the beginning of this fight, the first 2 rounds, sometimes the first round's a little slow, but the first 2 rounds, if the beginning of this fight is not frantic, is not, a fight where Shane Mosley is coming forward and forcing Pacquiao to fire back, right? If either fighter is able to kind of like back away and avoid contact, then you'll know I'm wrong. So if you have big money on Manny Pacquiao at these big odds, right? Minus 600, minus 800 to win 100, right? If you're a Manny Pacquiao bettor, and the beginning of this fight looks slow, or Shane Mosley looks like Oscar De La Hoya at the beginning of Pacquiao De La Hoya, where he's backing up and he's reactive instead of proactive, then you can sit back, enjoy the fight, and watch Manny Pacquiao put on a boxing exhibition, right? I understand most of the world is with Pacquiao on this one. The casino odds, the fighting public. I understand Pacquiao is an Ali-type figure. He's a big draw. But if the first and second rounds have Shane Mosley coming forward and has action that reminds you of Hagler Hearns, and understand this is big action. This is Castillo Corrales type action. If you see any hint of Shane Mosley landing a right hand, right, and if you see Shane Mosley showing disdain for Pacquiao's right hand, the same right hand that he, hit Ricky Hatton with, if you see Shane Mosley daring Pacquiao to throw his right hand, and if you see Pacquiao engaged in a shootout in the first 2 rounds, then I just want you to consider the possibility of Shane Mosley winning this fight by knockout, because I believe Shane Mosley has the capability to do just that. I believe he's going to land that straight right. Let me go further. Take a look at Shane Mosley against a bigger man. Fernando Vargas in the rematch. Take a look at Shane Mosley's left hook. Understand what Pacquiao, a southpaw, likes to do is he likes to bounce right to your left. Then he completely finishes you, right? He is a guy who is a master at angles. The difference between this fight's a modern day version of Hagler Hearns, is that Hagler came straight in on you. Manny Pacquiao's actually a bit more advanced. Pacquiao will come in at angles, right? And of course, Pacquiao has much faster hand speed than Marvin Hagler. Obviously, Hagler had the bigger punch and the better chin, but Pacquiao has much faster hand speed than Marvin Hagler. And so Shane Mosley, all I'm saying is, if Pacquiao bounces to the left, Shane Mosley's left, just understand that Shane Mosley's left hook is devastating, right? If it could knock out Fernando Vargas, if it could stop Ricardo Mayorga, and keep in mind, pay attention to weights. These are bigger men at 154. If it could stop those guys, that left hook could also stop Manny Pacquiao. Simply put, for Shane Mosley's strengths, a straight right hand and a left hook, I believe southpaw Manny Pacquiao, the smaller fighter in this fight, is made to order for Shane Mosley, right? I myself believe that if the fight goes the distance, Manny Pacquiao wins it. I believe if it goes into the later rounds, 10, 11, I believe Manny Pacquiao should have the upper hand. But in the early rounds, I believe Shane Mosley has the upper hand. Let's understand who Manny Pacquiao is. He's a guy who is different than, let's say, a Miles Davis type performer, right? Miles Davis was an artist who would sometimes turn his back on the crowd and just try to hit the notes and pursue his vision because the crowd was secondary to his artwork, right? He was a musician who was focused on what he was doing. Crowd is secondary. I believe that Floyd Mayweather is a Miles Davis type, right? The crowd is secondary. He has an artwork that he's creating, right? He has a painting he's trying to draw in the ring. The ring is his canvas, and whether the crowd's booing him or cheering him, he's focused on what he has to do. Even the taunts of an opponent don't matter to someone with Mayweather's personality type. Manny Pacquiao is different. Pacquiao's like Ali, right? These guys feast on the crowd. These guys look at the crowd. When Manny Pacquiao's opponent taunts Manny Pacquiao in the ring, let's say he lands a pretty hard shot or plays to the crowd, you'll notice Manny Pacquiao will then play to the crowd immediately. My point to you is simply this. This is a different fight than Mosley Mayweather. And keep in mind, I picked Mayweather in that fight. This is a different fight. This is a fight where you have an opponent for Shane Mosley who will actually fight back when Shane Mosley starts to fight. Pacquiao is a warrior. Pacquiao, just like Ali, right? The reason these guys are crowd pleasers is they're trying to please the crowd. When Shane Mosley comes forward and starts landing bombs, Manny Pacquiao is going to step forward and he's going to start landing bombs too. Normally, Pacquiao has the hand speed advantage. Here, it's going to be close. The problem is Manny Pacquiao's power has not carried to 147 pounds. He knocked out Hatton at 140, right? Shane Mosley just wants a shootout because he figures he's throwing the bigger bombs early on. I believe he's right. To sum up, I think Shane Mosley's a very live dog in this fight. If you are able to bet the fight as it happens, right, and I'm directing this to the Manny Pacquiao crowd, if it looks like Shane Mosley is landing heavy punches early, just understand that's not a good round for Shane Mosley. I believe that's a structural advantage for Shane Mosley early on. I think Shane Mosley has to push the issue early. I think this fight is going to be a classic for at least the first 6 rounds, in which I think Shane Mosley has the best opportunity of any Pacquiao opponent to stop him. After that, it's Pacquiao's fight to lose. Mosley has to put in work early. Thanks for watching.